Welcome to this ICDE Leadership Summit session.
Hosted by Open Polytechnic of New Zealand.
Kia ora koutou. I'm Caroline Seelig, Chief Executive of the Open Polytechnic of New Zealand.
And I'm Alan Cadwallader, Executive Director Learning Delivery at Open Polytechnic.
In this session, we will be discussing Open Polytechnic's Transformation Change Programme.
And we will elaborate on the disaggregated Open Distance Flexible Learning Model, our ODFL model, that the Polytechnic has adopted in support of our digital transformation.
First off, let's look at why we undertook this transformation. Let's have a think about our role in New Zealand and also investigate what were we trying to achieve with this transformation.
We will speak also to what our vision is for our learners and how we're using a set of principles to inform transformational change at the Polytechnic.
Open Polytechnic is an Institute of Technology polytechnic based in Wellington, New Zealand. We have a 75-year history and we're New Zealand's largest dedicated online and distance education provider specialising in ODFL.
We offer over 100 vocational programs that range from foundation and introductory certificates through to diplomas and graduate degrees. Annually, we will enrol in excess of 30,000 individual learners. And through New Zealand's program to reform vocational education and training, we have become part of a collaborative national network of vocational education.
Open Polytechnic refers to our 4 factors that we want to be characteristic of the experience that our learners have. These factors are a touchstone for our program of transformational change, and they are convenience, relevance, connectedness, and smartness.
Convenient is represented by offering our learners greater choice and flexibility. Choices around when to enrol and the program of study that they choose. And flexibility through digitally enabled access to learning that fits with the learner's lifestyle and can happen 24/7, as well as a pace of learning that is able to be driven by the learner rather than by the organisation.
Relevance speaks to a learning experience that is personalised and engages the learner, offers the learner self-directedness, and utilises learner analytics to understand preferences and support needs to drive personalisation. Relevance also by meeting current and future industry needs, graduates from our programs who are equipped to meet employer expectations.
Connectedness looks to achieve learner engagement through the quality of contemporary interactive courseware that is designed and developed for our iQualify platform. Learners connected to a range of experts through an effective learning community and a tiered approach to offering learners access to services and support.
Smartness through continuous improvement, based on the evidence that we collect through multiple sources, which allows us to understand learner behaviour and be responsive to learner feedback. The Polytechnic's change programme was carefully planned and founded on a co-designed future operating model that was captured as our ODFL blueprint. This blueprint has been used to inform the development of our education technology and digital expertise, which is used to drive innovation in the design, development, and delivery of ODFL capability.
We have adopted a set of key principles, which are principal elements that inform how we go about implementing transformational change. These key principles can be described as the core elements of our teaching and learning process are disaggregated. Each of these elements is then performed by specialists or experts particular to the element. A disaggregated model of delivering ODFL allows each element to be individually optimized and focused on, but also operated in synergy with one another within an integrated system. The core elements are able to be unbundled, and this allows individual elements of the system to be harnessed to fit the requirements of networked delivery models. A fundamental characteristic of ODFL education systems is the inherent disaggregation of function. And Open Polytechnic, prior to its transformation change program, was already an organisation structured in accordance with this characteristic. We referred to it as an industrial model or a system of education, or as a disaggregated value chain. The transformation change program has both reinforced our use of disaggregation and sought to enhance the effectiveness of this way of organising.
In the following slides, we will illustrate how we are harnessing the effectiveness of a disaggregated model of ODFL to enhance the learner experience and strengthen the relationships between our organisation and key stakeholders. The starting point for transforming our already disaggregated organisation has been a close examination of functions and then regrouping these by activity. By associating the wide range of functions undertaken by the Polytechnic into like activity groups, as shown in this slide, we have been able to strengthen our focus on individual elements of the system, specifically address the resourcing in each of these areas, and facilitate the development of expertise in our capabilities.
Let me walk you through an example of this. Prior to the implementation of our transformation change program, responsibilities for assessment activity were diffused amongst a number of different areas of organisational activity. Academic staff members, learning designers, assessment authors, assessors, moderators, and administrators have all had different roles in our delivery of assessment. This group of activities is now drawn together through our establishment of an assessment centre. And while the assessment centre continues to draw on the inputs provided by these same organisational actors, it now has the responsibility for the effectiveness of our assessment activities and the delivery of assessment services to our learners and other stakeholders. Using the same example, you'll see in the following slides how the establishment of an assessment centre has allowed us to separately cater for the needs of different stakeholder groups. With a focus on our learner stakeholders, in this slide we want to illustrate how the disaggregated activity groups shown in the previous slide are now organisationally arranged to provide specialisation that supports an optimal learner experience. For example, our academic staff members' focus is now firmly situated in the activities of facilitating and teaching, supported by their engagement in research. If you reflect back on the previous slide, you can see how the activity grouping of subject matter expertise, teaching, and research is now concentrated as the focus or specialisation of our academic staff.
Similarly, the establishment of our assessment centre allows us to move towards offering assessments to learners independently of their engagement in learning and teaching. This leads to us being able to provide assessment on demand services and credentialing through assessment-only educational activities. A concluding note for this slide: you may have noted the reference to Open Polytechnic's RCOR. RCOR is a word from our indigenous Maori language, or te reo. The word RCOR conveys a concept of reciprocity in the processes and activities of learning and teaching. It can mean both to learn and to teach or instruct. Open Polytechnic's educational philosophies are founded on the concept of RCOR. Here we provide a perspective on our transformed, disaggregated ODFL model that is industry-facing. As a provider of vocational education and training, we are expected to be relevant to industry, to support their needs for skill development and training and the provision of a skilled workforce that contributes to economic development. The Polytechnic's vision is described as vocational education that supports a thriving and resilient economy and prosperous communities throughout New Zealand. Therefore, it's vital for us that we can interface between our organisation and industry in a highly effective manner.
Continuing with the example of our establishment of an assessment centre to illustrate, a specific centre of responsibility for the delivery of assessment allows us to address and meet the needs of industry where they require assessment of their workforce in the workplace. A further example is how we work closely with industry to inform the development and design of curriculum. Our disaggregated ODFL model allows us to draw on inputs from industry experts and ensures the vocational relevance of what we deliver.
Open Polytechnic is New Zealand's specialist national provider of distance-delivered vocational education and training. We are ideally placed to work with other educational providers to support their provision of education and training, which is usually more regionally focused. Our disaggregated model means we can offer a range of services to partner organisations.
Examples of this in practice are the design and development of education resources provided by our learning design and development teams, marking and moderation services offered by our assessment centre, sharing of courseware and assessment, and the use of the Polytechnic's digital delivery platform, iQualify. All are disaggregated components of our ODFL model that can be accessed by partner organisations either standalone or bundled together to provide a more joined-up delivery model. To conclude, we look at the shifts and changes that are occurring in our operating environment and how we are adapting and flexing our change program to respond to these.
As is the way with transformation change programs, they aren't static, and organisations need to continue to reflect, refine, and refocus. This is particularly pertinent with regard to keeping aligned with external environmental shifts.
Our original change program focus has necessarily been influenced over time by changes that are occurring in our external operating environment. There are three significant influences where change is occurring, and it is necessary for us to consider the impact of these changes on our organisation and how we are adapting and flexing our own change program to respond to these. Three significant external drivers of further change in our transformation are, firstly, the national reform of vocational education in New Zealand, which brings together 16 polytechnics into one organisation. Our responsiveness to the COVID-19 pandemic and associated economic shifts. And thirdly, our commitment to achieving equity for traditionally underserved learners.
In response to these changes, we are positioning the organisation to be a developer and provider of educational products and services across the network, a collaborative strategy. We are undertaking planning and initiatives that address inequity for our underserved learners. We are accelerating the 365 initiative, anytime enrolments, learner-driven pace, and assessment on demand. We're investing in analytics and data-driving improvements in the quality of our learning experience. We're enabling the integration of work-based and provider-based learning. And finally, we're leveraging the role as the national specialist distance vocational education provider.
It has been our pleasure to share with you some of the key aspects of Open Polytechnic's transformation.
Thank you for this opportunity to share our particular approach to achieving flexibility through transformation. Best wishes for the remainder of the ICDE Leadership Summit.